All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We are going to talk about increasing your English vocabulary today. Our goals for this workshop today is you are going to learn how to predict the meaning of unfamiliar words by looking at their parts. And this is going to allow you to grow your vocabulary quickly. All right, our agenda, I'm going to give you a very quick introduction, and then we're going to talk about word roots, about prefixes, suffixes, and then we're going to apply the technique of breaking down words to decipher the meaning of some new words. Okay, so this technique for determining the meaning of unfamiliar words is we're going to look at some familiar elements of the word. You're going to look for things that you already recognize to help you define the word and figure out its meaning. So root words, prefixes, suffixes. We're going to recognize parts of speech. We're going to learn how to tell if a word is a noun, a verb, or an adjective based on its endings. And so a very quick example here is if you look at the word financial, you very quickly see that it has the word finance in it. And if you're familiar with finance relating to money and that sort of thing, you kind of recognize already, okay, this word has to do with money, has to do with something like maybe counting money or being in money or something to do with money. And then as you'll learn a little bit later in this presentation, the AL ending has the meaning of related to or regarding. So you'll see you can break this word into two parts, meaning related to finance. Here's another example. This word has three parts. It has pre, which means before. It has the word exist in it, which you probably already recognize. And it has an ing ending, which I'm sure you recognize that one. Ing endings are a little bit tricky because they can be verbs, but they can also be adjectives. They can also describe something. So in this word, the ing ending is actually an adjective ending. It means the state or the quality. And then we have pre is previous or before, and then exist obviously is being. So pre-existing means the state of existing previously. And it's usually in reference to healthcare type things, right? Have you had this disease or this problem previously? Another quick one, unfamiliar. You'll recognize un meaning not. You'll recognize fam as in family. So family is something you know well, something that's close to you. And then the IAR ending is again meaning state of, quality of, and IAR endings are for adjectives. So the meaning of this is basically the state of not being known. So something that you do not know well. You'll notice when we kind of break these into parts, it sounds a little bit strange. The state of being unknown. Oh, it's unknown. I have known on there. That's a little typo on there. I just need to fix that. State of being unknown, not known. Oh, no, it's right. State of not being known. Okay, it's there. So you'll see it sounds a little bit funny when I describe it like this way in its parts, but if you kind of think about it a little bit, you can kind of come to the regular definition of the word. So when you learn to do this and recognize these different parts, it allows you to expand your vocabulary size fairly quickly. Right. So just a little brief mention of English history. Now, I don't know all the details, but I just want to give you just some very, very basics. So English is related to German. So it's in the Germanic family of languages. So we share a lot of similarities with German, Dutch, and Swedish, and there's some other languages that are related. So you'll notice these very, very old roots and words in English tend to be our one-syllable words, and they tend to be things that are very basic human needs. So you'll notice words like man, house, and fire. They come from way, way back in our history. They're very, very simple words. They're Germanic based. So if you are familiar with German, Dutch, Swedish, or another Germanic language, you'll see a lot in common there, and you'll recognize a lot of cognates, which are words that are practically the same or very, very similar in a couple of languages. So later on, we get educated words that came into English later in our history. And those educated words are things that talk about science and arts and fine living. And they were adopted from Latin and Greek and French. So if you speak a Latin-based language or French or even Greek, you will recognize a lot already in English, and you'll be able to guess a lot of meanings. So it's really, really helpful if you do speak one of those languages. So these words are multi-syllable. They're 2, 3, 4. They're larger words. And they're very, very numerous. So once you recognize those roots, you get a big boost in your vocabulary immediately. So we want to start learning our Greek and our Latin roots. All right, a quiz for you guys. You probably can already tell me the answer to these things. What does aqua mean? Aqua is a Latin root. I'm going to give you an example.
Water.
Somebody got it already. So you have aquarium, you have aquatic, Aquaman, from superheroes. So very quickly, you already knew that aqua means water. So when I give you a new word that has aqua in it, you'll know that it's at least related to water. You can kind of take a guess as to what it might mean. All right, another quiz. What does phone mean? Now this one's going to be a little bit harder because you're thinking your telephone, right? But what is a telephone?
It's like a sound.
There we go.
Yes.
Microphone. Symphony, which you probably didn't recognize, this one was related because it's not exactly phone and its pronunciation is slightly different, but if you look at it, it's that PHON in there. Symphony. So
in the chat, they say sound.
Oh,
Akbar
perfect.
Sahiri.
Yep, so phone means sound. Exactly. Ooh, this one's harder. Fracked or frag? Ooh, actually, we hear a lot about fracking these days. Fracture, fragment, fragile, or fragile. Fragile. Different pronunciations for that. Now I have
like
you
a
guys
piece
stumped.
or to break.
Here we go. To break.
To break.
Good. All of you guys who are already speaking Latin languages, Romance languages, you guys have already can take a pretty good guess at most of these probably.
In the chat room, it is break in pieces.
Exactly. Vac, as in vacate, vacuum, evacuate. And you'll notice the pronunciation changes. In some of these words, it's vac, and some of these words, it's vake. So that can happen as well. But they all have a similarity there.
Is it like empty? Make it
Exactly. Empty. All right. Vid or vis? Visible, video, evidence.
like visual, seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See?
In chat room, it's say clear.
Clear. Seeing, having, yeah, exactly. So you can see that already you have a lot of this knowledge already based on all the words that you already know in English. Your brain has a lot of this already stored in there, and if you think about it, you can relate the words you already know to new ones that you see. Oh, and I have one more. Scribe and script. This one's pretty easy. Prescribe. Transcript. Scripture.
Right.
Exactly. That one's writing.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to take a look at some common Greek suffixes, roots, sorry, not suffixes, common Greek roots. So you'll notice bio refers to life. So biology is the study of life. Biography, graph is, refers to writing. So biography is the study of someone's life, kind of a book related to someone's life. And biohazard, right? So a hazard to life, something that's dangerous to life. Chron relates to time, chronological, chronic, synchronize. Geo relates to earth, so geography, geology are samples. Phone, we just had that one. Photo or photo in normal spoken English. Photo is light, refers to light. Photograph, photosynthesis. What's the photogenic? Photogenic means you look good in pictures. You'll GEN, a lot of times it's like nice. You notice that gen root in there? Okay, and then therm refers to heat, thermometer, thermostat, thermos, that sort of thing. Okay, and now we get to some Latin roots. Anim for life or spirit, animal, animate. You even hear anime these days. Anime, right? Those Japanese cartoons. Odd refers to hearing, audience, audible, audio visuals. There's lots of those. Corp refers to body, corpse, corporation. Liber, freedom, liberty, liberate. Nat or nate is born, native, innate, nativity. Ter refers to land, territory, terrain. Voc, to voice, vocal, advocate. Volve, turn, evolve, revolve, revolution. Okay. Oh, I spelled revo. No, that's right. Okay. And these are going by very quickly. You probably already have a sense for a lot of these. You probably know a lot of words that have them, these roots already. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I saw something come through in the chat. Is there anything, Larissa, in the chat that we
Yes.
need to talk about?
Yes, they gave some other example, like bioenergy
Okay.
before it was. And with, again, Akmar Zahiri is very productive to say, is there a relation between phone and phony?
Yes. Phone and phoneme. Absolutely. So phonetics.
Phony, like phony, sound phony.
Oh,
like
phony.
No, sorry. For example, we say that person is phony, bad
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Oh, phony.
Yeah, maybe a lot of
Meaning fake or artificial.
Yeah.
Meaning,
Yes.
yeah, you might think their words are, it would be hard, I think, to figure out the meaning of the word phony, though, just from
The
phone.
problem is that I have faced a lot of words that when I wanted to connect their roots, it was difficult. For example, like this, phony.
Hmm.
So this is the main reason that I don't believe on these roots sometimes, unfortunately.
Well, this doesn't work 100% of the time at all, but it's helpful for kind of deciphering some words, but obviously not all words, because sometimes there is a root that is both a Greek root and a Latin root, and they have different meanings. So, or it might be coming from a different language, or it could be coming from our Germanic roots. So this kind of helps a lot of times in the longer words, the more educated words, but it's not a 100% solution. It's a technique for kind of helping, but it doesn't work in all cases. So, but hopefully it'll help you in some cases, and especially when you can combine it with knowing the part of speech and looking at the context of things as well. Hopefully it'll help. And then there's always dictionaries. So consult a dictionary if you're not sure. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Shall we move on to prefixes? Okay. So prefixes they come at the beginning of the word, before the root, and they're adding a little extra meaning to the word. And here, I'm going to show you what I mean here. So what does the prefix anti mean? Anti-war, anti-social, anti-freeze, which you put in your car so the engine won't freeze when it's cold.
Against.
Exactly. So you probably already have a lot of this information already stored in your brain. We just need to kind of bring it out and make you aware of it. What does X mean? Easy. Ex-wife, ex-president, my ex. When people say my ex-husband, my ex-wife, my ex-boyfriend, my ex-somebody. So X.
Previous.
Former, previous.
Sorry, Nicole.
Uh-huh.
We don't use X for other things, only for person. We cannot say my ex job, my ex career. Yes, we don't use only for people. Ex.
Yes, I
Wife,
would say
ex thing.
that's right. If you were to say my ex job, we would know what you meant. And sometimes, well, people do create their own words. Words are created all the time. And we'll say, you know, it's my ex, I don't know, my ex apartment, my ex. Well, people are always making up new words because when we understand the pieces, we can create new words from those pieces. So you will find people will make up new ones sometimes. I think you're right, though, referring to people only. My ex-wife, my ex-husband, my ex-boss, my ex. Yeah, I think you're right in that terms. I think for things, I would say my former. We can also say former for ex, my former husband, my former boss. My previous house, my previous job. We'd probably use the word previous. Okay. Oh, what does pre mean? As in prenatal vitamins? Oh, nate. We need to look at natal. Natal, if you remember, we saw that root just a moment ago. Nate refers to birth, right? Prenatal. Okay. Prepaid. Preview. So pre
Early.
means?
Early,
Before.
Before. Yeah, exactly. Easy. Prefix post. You can probably guess that one as well. A post-war apartment. This is if you're like in New York City. Post-war meaning post-World War II. When the soldiers were all coming back, lots of them were coming back and they had new families that needed places to live. So post-war apartment, postpone, post-game, like after a soccer, football, baseball game, there's a post-game. Oh yeah, I did spell that wrong. Analysis, there should be an L, analysis. All right, post meaning after, it's easy. Re, we all know re, as in redo, reheat, reappear.
Again.
Again, exactly. All right, oh, sub, one more. Sub is a little, yeah, with some examples you'll get it. Submarine, sub-zero temperatures, subpar performance.
Under.
Below or under. Subpar. Par meaning kind of what's expected or the normal, the norm, the average. So subpar is below average. Okay. So here are some common prefixes. We have a lot of prefixes referring to numbers, and there are many more than this. I just gave you a sample right here, but you'll find there are others as well. Una refers to one. Die or duo is two. Tri is 3, quad is 4, quint is 5, and then there are obviously more, 6, 7, 8, they all have theirs as well. Cent or centa is 100, milla is 1,000, mega is 1,000,000, and multi is many. I'm going to give you a little quiz. How many horns does a unicorn have? Right, unicorn has?
One.
One, right? So una means one, and actually corn, if for any of you who speak romance languages, you'll notice the root in their corn is referring to a horn, right? So for some reason we have an H on that one, and Latin languages have a C, corn. So there we go. How many singers sing together in a duet?
2.
2. How many years in a century?
100.
100.
100, right? Cent is 100. How many angles does a triangle have?
3.
3. How many sides? Oh, let's see. If something is a quad, like if you're at a college and they say, oh, let's meet in the quad. How many sides does that quad have? What kind of
4.
shape is it? Yeah.
4.
So you're expecting it to have 4 sides, something that's in a square or a rectangular shape. Quadriplegic has lost the use of limbs. So limbs are your arms and your legs. How many limbs has the quadriplegic lost the use of?
4.
4. So 2 arms, 2 legs. How many babies are there in quintuplets?
5.
5.
5. Yeah, there were some famous ones back, I think, in 1930s in Canada somewhere. I think there were quintuplets way back when. And next one, how many legs does a centipede have? I don't think this is literal, but I think it's just what we think it has a lot.
100.
It would be 100 if we believe that literally. What about a millipede?
1,000.
Yeah. So ped, if you notice PED, PED often refers to legs or feet, actually, literally feet. Ped, like pedestrian.
Pediatric.
Well, that's actually a different root. I mean, it's the same one, but it has a different meaning. So pediatric refers to children. And then
okay.
And then this refers to actually feet. So yeah, that's an example where sometimes there is a root that has actually two distinct meanings. That's exactly one. How many songs are there? Oh, sounds in a diphthong. And you're like, what's a diphthong? That's only a word that I use, right? When we're talking about pronunciation.
2.
You'll notice the thong at the end, like tone, refers to sounds, and dip refers to two. So 2 sounds. A diphthong is actually a blend of 2 vowel sounds, like I or a. In English, you notice I has a and e. They're blended together. 2 sounds. What's a millennial?
In 2000.
Well, that's what I thought too, until I kept hearing millennial. I'm like, well, that doesn't make, I looked it up and I think it's people who became maybe young adults around the year 2000. So probably people who were born maybe late 80s, 90s. So they're kind of becoming teenagers and adolescents around the year 2000 or so. So yeah, it's referring to the millennium, to the 1000 there. If you quadruple the number 3, what do you get?
12.
Exact. Quadruple means 4 times, right? So 4 times 3 is 12. What's a unibrow? Americans will know this. A lot of you guys may not know this one. Brow. Okay, you know what an eyebrow is, right? Eyebrow? Well, we usually have 2, right? Most people have 2. A unibrow is when they connect and there's only one.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to share, but it's my first time to join your class.
Hey there.
Let me introduce myself. Hey, how are you?
Hey
My name is Amir Hakim, and I'm a teacher at Newark Public Schools. And my esteemed colleague, long time, almost 23 years ago, I didn't see him. His name is Hilal, Mr. Hilal. He has just invited me for your session.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
It was awesome. It's awesome, actually. So
okay.
I don't know if I'm allowed to participate.
Okay. Well, welcome. We have a very quick session, just 1 hour to fit into people's lunch breaks and busy work days. So I'm trying to keep questions, well, take a few questions here or there, but I'm trying to stay within the 1 hour mark. So,
okay,
and I think we're on schedule for that. So at the end, hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for some questions. And I'll stay extra also if there are extra questions we don't get time for. All right. Sure. Unibrow. It's when your eyebrows are connected into one. All right. Ooh, Octomom. I don't know if you remember this. I think these children are now teenagers or so. So this is probably at least 15 to 20 years ago. How many babies did Octomom have? And at one time?
8.
There were 8. Octo refers to 8. Yow. That's crazy, huh? Oh, what's multifamily housing?
Many.
Yeah, usually it's an apartment complex, somewhere where a lot of people live together. Usually refers to apartments, condominiums, multifamily.
Yeah. It may be 3 stories, maybe 2 stories, you know.
Okay. So let's take a look at some other roots. These are all not roots. These are actually prefixes. These are all prefixes that refer to no or not. So a refers to, well, not, like atypical, something that is not typical. An atheist is a person who does not believe in God. If you look at the the root, the refers to God. So atheist does not believe in God. Counter and contra refer again to not or against, contraband, counteract, contradict. Disapprove, disagree. You'll notice a lot start with I, im, in, ill, So immature is not mature, inactive is not active. Illegal is not legal. Irresponsible, not responsible. Nonsense, non-smoker, non-fat. All of these are probably pretty familiar to you. Unhappy, undue, unusual. So nothing shocking there, I don't think. Then let's see. Oh, I'm going to let you guys brainstorm for just a moment. How many words can you think of that start with these prefixes? Macro, micro, mega, and mini. And these all refer to size, right? Macro being big, micro being small, mega being like big or a lot, and mini obviously being small too. So you'll probably think of quite a few actually. If you guys want to shout out, feel free, or you can put them in the chats too.
Chat is better. Put chat.
That's better. Larissa, do you see any good?
Yeah, microeconomics.
Exactly. And
It's
then
a good one,
macroeconomics
yes.
too, right?
And they say mega thread.
Mega thread. Is that, what's that?
Mariana, can you explain what do you mean?
Yeah, so in chats, when you want to talk about a certain subject and you want to collapse multiple threads, you have a mega thread.
Oh, I gotcha. I was thinking thread as in clothing. I was not thinking about computer science type thing. Okay, that makes sense.
And
Megabyte.
they say
Megabyte, exactly.
oxymoron.
Mhm.
Oxymoron.
Oxymoron, exactly. Kind of a contradiction of terms.
And they say microscope, microorganism.
Mhm.
They're very
Small,
good ones.
right? So those are all small.
Mhm.
Mini, I'm thinking mini
Microchip.
mart. A lot of times those little stores that are really tiny is a mini mart.
Miniature.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiny stuff. All right. Give you another one here. Brainstorm this one. Circa.
Circumstance.
I don't know if circus is related to this or not. It might be.
Yes.
Like the roundness.
Yes, I
Could
think
be.
so. Mhm.
Any other thoughts for circa?
Circumstance.
Circumstance, right? Circa meaning kind of like a circle or around. Not too many. I'm thinking of things like circular, circle,
Circumstance.
circumstance. All right. That one. Retro. We're
Yeah.
going back for retro. Going back.
Retrospective.
Yeah.
Retrospective.
Yeah. Mariana gives another very complex word. My circa valve.
What is it, circa?
I was thinking circumvolve,
Valve?
which is a word that I heard, but I'm missing
Circumvolve?
the meaning. I'm missing the meaning now. So let me Google it.
Circumvolve. Well, I'm thinking we do have that root, circum, and then we have the vol. Could be. There's a lot of times specialized terminology in your different fields of study and work, different industries, especially computer science and, well, all kinds of sciences have all kinds of terminology and jargon that a lot of us aren't familiar with, even me.
So it means to twist around, to revolve, to rotate.
Oh, okay.
I
Remember
was sure I heard this somewhere.
Yeah, remember volve was to turn, and then circ, well, in a circle, so I guess turning lots of circles, right? Okay, let's see,
Television. Telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Telegram.
And you guys are all working from home. We have a word for that. You're working from home.
Telecommuting.
Telecommuting, right? Yeah. And
Transmission.
transmission.
Transfer.
Yeah, trans is like a cross, usually like cross or
Transfer.
Transportation.
Transportation.
Oh, somebody gave it. Teleport. Teleport. It would be great.
Okay. Cool. Let's see. And under.
Understand.
I'm thinking under as in location.
Underground.
Yeah, I'm not sure if understand kind of fits into that.
Underpass.
Underdeveloped.
Underdressed.
Okay, somebody needs to mute here. There's like a television in the background or something. All right, good.
Some of them very good. Transcontinental
Perfect.
and then underestimate.
Good. Perfect.
And then underpaid, I'm not sure. Underpaid. I think.
Underpaid. Cool. Okay, good. All right, now we're moving on to our suffixes. So we're going to the endings now. All right.
I would like to excuse me to get out of the session. You're doing great job. You're doing great work. I'm so impressed with your work. It's my first time. Thank you for my esteemed colleague to invite me for your session. I have been really touched with your way of manipulating your instruction. I love that. I love that. By the way, I'm doing the same job here in Jersey City. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
See ya. All right.
Bye-bye.
So suffixes. Suffixes are parts that we add to the end of words. So the first kind of suffix is a kind of suffix that adds meaning to your root. So it's creating related words, but with a different meaning. And I'm going to give you an example here. So you have full and less are two suffixes that you can add to the same root, but to make opposite meanings. So hopeful versus hopeless. Hopeful, hopeless. So you can see they both have that root hope and they're related to hope, but they have completely different meanings based on that suffix that we've added, right? So you're full of hope, or if you're hopeless, well, there's really just no hope for you. So useful and useless, the same idea there. Something that is full of use, that has a lot of uses, and then useless, something that there's no use for. Helpful, helpless. So here's another little one. Et, E-T-T-E means small. So you have a kitchen and kitchenette. So sometimes if you want to stay in a hotel, you might get a hotel that has a kitchenette, which means it is a small kitchen. It might have a small refrigerator and a microwave and very, very small, but something that allows you to cook in a very small way. So kitchenette. And then there are also other words that have et. Dinette would be like a small dining room set. There's a few others, but that's just a quick example. So that's one kind of suffix where we're actually changing the meaning of a word by adding that suffix to the end. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of suffixes here, so that have that ability. So if you put able or able at the end of something, it basically means able. Like this is a very walkable area, meaning I can walk to stores and restaurants and other places that I need to go. So very walkable. Comfortable, something that is able to give you comfort, a nice bed or a sofa. Responsible, somebody is able to be responsive, to respond to things when needed. Okay. ANT or ENT is a person who. So a servant is a person who serves, an assistant is a person who assists, a resident is a person who resides or who lives somewhere. ARY and ORY are places for. Library, it's a place for, well, LIBR is root for books, actually, so place for books. Labor, you notice the word labor, work, laboratory. In American English, it's laboratory. The O is silent in the middle of that word, laboratory, which is different from British pronunciation, but you do see labor in there. So it's a place for work. And technically, it's a little bit more than that, right? We do scientific investigations and things in a lab. And mortuary, if you recognize mort or muert, M-O-R-T refers to death. So mortuary is a place for dead people. AR, ER, and OR are also people. So you'll notice teacher, doctor. You can also see things that are not professions, like the word liar or the word beggar. They're not necessarily professions, but many of them are.
Yes, liar is a profession, especially if they are politicians.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's funny. Okay, IOUS is a quality. So delicious, religious, nutritious, something that, describes how something is. OUS is something that is full of, nervous, joyous. I'm full of nerves. I'm nervous, or I'm full of joy. Itis, you probably recognize that as in diseases. Technically, it means inflammation. So arthritis is inflammation of the joints. Bronchitis. Oh, I spelled that one wrong too. Bronch should have an N. B-R-O-N. Bronch is inflammation of the bronchioles right here. So like part of the lungs. And then eyes. I-Z-E means to make. And we use that suffix to form verbs a lot of times. So computerize or popularize. Okay. So
Sorry.
yes.
Can I ask you about the last one? Is it the same with ISE, for example? We know the
Yes.
dictation, organize in.
Yes. I actually have this on another slide as well when we talk about verb endings. ISE and YZE. So American English tends to use IZE spelling and British ISE. But sometimes Americans, some of them we do spell ISE as well, or with a Y. It's pretty inconsistent in the spelling of this, but they're all the same meaning. And that one I know I do have on the other slide as well. So we'll look at that again. All right, so that was the first type of a suffix where type 1 adds a meaning, adds a specific meaning to a word. Type 2 of the suffixes, it changes the part of speech. So the words are very, very related. They're just a verb versus a noun versus an adjective. So if you notice, education is a noun, it's a thing. Educate is a verb, it's an action. Educated is describing a person who's educated. So what we're doing with these types of endings is we're just changing the type of word that it is, but it has the same meaning. Unity, unify, united, unification, and uniting are all versions of that same coming together. It's just used in a different way. Sometimes it's an action, sometimes it's an idea, or sometimes it's a description. Develop, development, develop, developing. So you can see all of these have the exact same meaning. We just use them in different ways within our speech. All right. Here we go. So let's take a look. How does the suffix change the meaning? So enjoy is your base form. If you look up in the dictionary, you see enjoy, to be happy. Well, you definitely notice the word joy in there, right? Joy, to be happy, joyful. Enjoyment is the noun form. Right? This brings me a lot of enjoyment, or it's great to, how would we use that? Enjoyment. It's important to, I'm thinking this brings me a lot of enjoyment, but this is very enjoyable. Adjective, and enjoyably is an adverb. A lot of times we add that ly at the end to make something an adverb. The adverb can describe a noun, sorry, not a noun, a verb, an action, or it can describe an adjective. So what's the error in this sentence? That was a very enjoyment party.
Enjoyment?
Yeah,
Party?
enjoyment here. We're using the idea of joy, enjoyment, but we're describing the party. And since we're describing the party, what we need is a describing word. We need an adjective. So we need a word that has the correct ending. And meant, M-E-N-T, is a noun ending. It means this is a thing, an object, an idea. So it doesn't fit to use the M-E-N-T ending to describe the party. We need an adjective ending. So we actually need, yeah, that's a noun. We need enjoyable. So we're still using enjoy, but we're just using a different ending depending upon what that word is doing in the sentence.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
But we have a rule in English that a noun can be an adjective. For example, English teacher, a school bus. How about this one?
Oh, school bus? Yeah, we're
Yes.
school. Yeah, sometimes words can take on different functions, even if they don't have an ending. Occasionally they do. So school bus or school. School is usually a noun, but in this case, it's describing the bus. So the bus is the noun. Well, actually, that's a compound, really. That's a compound word. It's really two nouns put together as one. But yes, you're kind of right. The school is kind of some sort of functioning as an adjective in that case. But really, that's a compound noun. It's two nouns put together as a new noun.
I'm not sure, but now you said this is the first time I see this example. It was very nice example, enjoyment. But I think maybe it depends on the type of the noun. For example, management, enjoyment. With this kind of nouns, we cannot bring them as an adjective like a school. Maybe it's only simple words. I'm not sure about it. But it was very nice example for the first time you brought, and I see it.
Oh,
thank
good.
you.
Thanks. All right, let's take a look at this. So we're looking at parts of speech. So these words are very related. You see kind and kindness, good and goodness. Kind is your adjective. Good is an adjective, but then their forms. Kindness is the noun form, kindness. So you'll see that putting the ness at the end makes the adjective a noun now. So it makes it an idea or thing. Right? Educate is a verb. Education is a noun. So we put the I-O-N, T-I-O-N at the end, makes that a noun. Dirt is a noun, and dirty, that Y ending, makes an adjective. And move this. Careful is an adjective. We put an L-Y at the end and it becomes an adverb. Okay, I'm going to go quickly through this. I hope you guys all know your English grammar because we don't have a lot of time to talk about grammar, but I just wanted to give you a sense of, notice putting those suffix endings can just change the type of word it is. In these cases, it doesn't change the meaning at all. It just changes its function inside the sentence. Okay, I know we could talk about nouns and adjectives and verbs quite a bit more, but I've got a whole bunch more interesting things to tell you, so I'm going to move on. So these are
in the chat book. In the chat, there is a very good example: government jobs, where government is an adjective.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
It's
and then I'm thinking, is it
Abdullah
really an
Ahmed.
adjective or is that just a compound? I'm thinking. I think it's just a new compound noun where you're putting two nouns together. But really, you're right. Government is functioning as an adjective in that case. Technically, it's probably considered a compound word, though, meaning it's two nouns put together as one. So anyhow, let's move on to, oh, did I just miss one? I did. There it is. So these are common noun suffixes, what you put at the end of a word to make it a noun. So you'll notice that ment, usually you can take a verb and convert it into a noun, like develop, development, amuse, amusement. For those first few up there, where we're talking about this makes the new word, its meaning is an action or a process, experiment, or a state or a quality. You can also use meant with a different meaning, that it makes it a product or a thing, like an instrument or fragment. So occasionally these roots, actually not roots, but suffixes, they can have more than one different function there. Right? So you notice the second, I should say the third line, instrument and fragment, are actually a completely different idea than the first ones of experiment and development. All right, so ness is a state or quality. Most of these, if you notice on the chart, the meaning means state or quality, meaning it's kind of in these cases, like a feeling or a way of describing something. It's a little bit hard to define what a state or quality is, but if you kind of look at the patterns, you start saying, oh, okay, it's kind of an idea. It's a thing. Okay, so we get happiness from happy, darkness from dark, relationship from relate, citizen, citizenship. So then ION, caution, attention, inspiration. ION really is a variety of endings. It can be ION, it can be TION, it can be SION, it can be ATION. So there's really a whole bunch of them. I just kind of abbreviated it to ION to just do it kind of in the short form here. But you'll notice caution is TION, attention is TION, inspiration is ATION, intention is SION. So they're really a variety of different endings there, but they all have that same meaning. And then ism, activism, racism, TY ending or ITY, you get like honesty, unity, necessity, tude, gratitude, magnitude, attitude, CY, bankruptcy, accuracy, diplomacy. So these are all nouns and the endings that you can expect in nouns. Adjectives. So AL and IAL. And most of these adjective endings are referring to something relating to something. Natural is relating to nature. Commercial is relating to commerce, right? Literary, relating to literature. 8. ATE can be confusing. It can also be a verb ending, you know, locate, motivate. It can be a verb, but it also can be an adjective. In this case, fortunate, passionate are adjectives. ENT meaning inclined to. Inclined to just means that somebody has the tendency that something is probably like this. So different. So probably or likely to vary or not be the same. Excellent, likely or probably will excel or do very well. Then you have IC, public, athletic, ICAL, comical, hypothetical, fragile, juvenile. Oh my goodness, positive, active, so many. So there are quite a few more adjective suffixes and also noun suffixes. These are just a small sample of what's out there. And obviously there was a lot more roots too. These are just some examples so you can kind of get an idea, especially the ones that you're probably familiar with already, but there are definitely more. So let me
Can I have a question and maybe it can help others?
Sure.
With the suffix ic and ical, IC and ICAL, is there in definition the difference? For example, economic and economical, right? They will be different meaning, like relating to economy or relating to a to be frugal.
Economic, economical.
Yeah.
Economic. Well, I'm thinking of economics as in the noun. Economical. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I would like to kind of move on because we're getting, we have very little time. So these are both adjective suffixes, and there may or may not be a slight difference, but they both do mean related to. So yeah, let's actually hold questions until the end at this point because I still have quite a bit to cover and we only have about 5 more minutes. Okay, so I will stay after in case anybody wants to stay and ask more questions, but we've got some interesting things and I think we're going to skip this part because we don't have a lot of time. Here are some verb suffixes and there's 8 again: locate, mandate, fascinate. ED, I'm sure you are all familiar with the ED endings: called and worked. Usually past tense, sometimes they're the participle marker. I don't want to talk a lot about grammar right now, but sometimes they're the simple, like just the simple past, and sometimes they can be the present perfect or the past perfect. So ED. And then EN is participle ending, generally eaten, spoken. But EN also can have the meaning of to make, as in straighten, to make straight, weaken, to make weak. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. ER, sometimes ER can be a verb ending. Very often it's a noun ending, right? But sometimes it actually, sometimes it's an adjective too. When we're describing, you have good, better, best. So it can be an adjective. ER can be a person, like in teacher. And sometimes it can be a verb, discover or wonder. FY is a typical verb ending: satisfy, classify. ING, you're all familiar with that: eating, sleeping. But notice ING and ED can also be adjective endings, like bored and boring, excited, exciting. So ED and ING are very often verb endings, but can also be adjective endings. So sometimes some of these suffixes, you'll have to look carefully at what it's doing in the sentence. And then here's that IZE, YZE, ISE. These all have the same meaning. Sometimes we just spell them differently. British tends to have the S. We tend to have the Z more often. Realize, analyze, and advertise. So these are all your verbs or your actions. A lot of these have the meaning of to make.
Can you give a
Can we
definition?
hold questions to the end? Because I only have 3 more minutes to finish the rest. So please hold questions to the end at this point. Let's see. Identifying part of speech. Okay. Decorate, part of speech. What do you guys think? If I need to put in a sentence. We need to decorate the room for the party. All right. So we will decorate the room. So in this case, it's an action, right? ATE can be a suffix that you might not know whether it's an adjective or whether it's a verb without seeing its position and its function in the sentence.
In the chat room, they said verb or action verb.
Perfect. Sensitive. He's a very sensitive boy.
Adjective.
It's an adjective, it's describing the person, right? Beautify. We really need to beautify this house. It's not looking so good. We need some flowers and some paint and, right? We need to beautify.
Verb. Yeah.
Makes it, yes, action. Probably. I'm probably going to stay home. It's an adverb. We didn't talk about adverbs there. There's only just a very few endings that create adverbs. ly is one. Wise, like likewise, size-wise, but there's very few, and the most common one is ly. Motivation. Do you have enough motivation to really improve? That's a noun, right? Motivation. Government, MENT, that's a noun also. Conscious. Is the patient conscious? We're describing the patient.
Adjective.
Adjective, describing word. Democracy.
Noun.
It's a noun, it's a thing. Okay, so you can see very clearly that the endings on these words tell you its function, whether it's an object, person, place, thing, idea, whether it's a describing word, whether it's an action word. So you can get a lot of information looking at those endings there. Word families, let's see. Parts of speech, what have I got here? Oops. I'm going to skip that one because we're kind of out of time. I want to apply these techniques we've just learned. Your word parts techniques, you know the root words, you know prefixes and suffixes and what they do. So let's apply that a little bit. I'm going to have you break down, well, actually, we're going to break down each of these words into its parts so you can kind of see how the parts tell the story of the meaning, right? Unhelpful, 3 parts. Right? Unhelpful. Un tells you not or no. Help, we all know the meaning of help, right? And then full is full of. So when you say that somebody is being unhelpful, you're saying, well, for one, it's an adjective. FUL is an adjective ending. And this person is not full of help. So they're not helping, they're not helpful. So, right, all 3 of those pieces of that word gives you a lot of information to help you determine its meaning. Multicultural, there's a big word, which is kind of hard to see its parts because it's kind of long and all together there. But you have multi, culture, and then you have the AL ending. First of all, your AL ending tells you that this word is an adjective. It's going to describe something. Culture, we're familiar with culture. And then multi meaning many. So an adjective that means relating. So the AL ending means relating to many cultures. Miscommunication. Miss, I did not give you miss previously, but miss usually means bad, something that didn't happen well. So miss, and then communicate, and then the TION ending, or actually in this case, it's ATION. And that's a noun ending. So we know this is a noun, and it refers to not communicating clearly or communicating improperly or something related to bad or negative. So the tion, ation is the state or quality of bad communication. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Now we're going to really apply it. Can you figure out what these words mean? Now you already may know the meaning. If you know the meaning of the word, don't shout it out yet, but especially, I know a lot of you have more advanced vocabularies, but some of you may not know the meanings of these. So see how much you can guess. Or even if you do know the meaning of the word, separate it into its parts and try to see how each of those parts relates to the overall meaning. So revitalize. First you see again. And then you see vite, which means life, right? Latin root for life. And then you have an al, which is not actually at the very, very end. We have two suffixes in this word. Al is relating to, and eyes is the verb to make. So you look at all this, we've got, let's see, to make, relating to making life again, relating to making something live again. And we know that revitalize, this is a verb actually, so it's an action. So we are making something alive again. Dictionary definition, here we go. Longman English Dictionary gives me this entry for revitalize. Put new strength or power into something. Okay, so we're thinking new strength, but if you actually look at the similar word revive. So we see again alive in there, life. So new strength, new power is kind of making something alive again. And then if you look in the dictionary, this is a nice dictionary, Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English. It gives you quite a lot of information. It gives you pronunciation, gives you some nice examples with pronunciation, and it even gives you the related form, revitalization. Okay, so you notice there's an ation ending on that one too. And it tells you this noun is uncountable, which is important for some nouns. Okay, let's do the next one. Can you figure out this one? You should pick out bio. And we know diverse, that's fairly easy word that most of us are familiar with. Diverse, different. ITY, state or quality of. This is a noun ending. State or quality of life being different. You're thinking, what does that mean? It gives you some idea that there's definitely different in there, and it's related in some way to life, living animals probably. Dictionary, biodiversity is a variety or the variety of plants and animals in a particular place. So you see, you don't get an exact definition when you do this, but you really get a lot of information about the word. Next one. There's a word that some people might not know, but you could probably guess pretty well what it's referring to. You're not going to guess probably exactly what it is, but you'll get a very good idea of what it's referring to. And when you have the context of a sentence, a paragraph, or some story or article you're reading, you're going to understand what this means in its context once you know what its parts are referring to. So geo is referring to the earth, therm is referring to heat. So it's something to do with heat coming from the earth. And al is related to, meaning it's an adjective. So geothermal, when I think of geothermal, I'm thinking of places on earth where hot water comes out of the earth naturally, where there's hot springs and hot pools, and it's coming up naturally from inside the earth. So that's what comes to my mind with geothermal. So it's relating to or coming from the heat inside the earth. So the example they give is a geothermal energy plant, like somewhere where we're creating electricity and energy using that heat that's coming out of the earth. Okay, and I've got one more. This is the last one. This one's a little bit hard. It might help if I pronounce it, anachronism. I suspect a lot of you may not know what this is. Anachronism. An meaning not. The major root in there is chron for time. And then ism is a noun ending. So this is a noun. It's an idea, a concept of something about not being timely. Something is wrong with time in this case. All right, dictionary definition. An anachronism is something that just does not belong to our current time frame. If you see somebody walking down the street and they're wearing clothing from 200 years ago, it's kind of an anachronism. It's something that just like it doesn't belong in this time. The monarchy is something of an anachronism these days. Right, yeah. So that sentence is basically saying the monarchy, referring to kings and queens. Why do we still have kings and queens?
It is the same as absolute.
No.
Absolute with the O. Absolute.
No. All right. The film was full of anachronism. This is a noun. So this is an idea or a concept. A lot of people might think, well, let's see, an anachronism. Yeah, I'm thinking about clothing that's not appropriate to the time, that's from older time periods. Anachronism might even be something that's from the future that we haven't even seen yet, but it's something that just doesn't belong in this time. Okay, so as you can see that breaking down the words doesn't completely give you the exact definition, but it does give you a lot of information, including whether it's a noun, an adjective, a verb, whether, it means not, or whether, what it's related to. So it kind of helps you guess things, especially when you have them in context. When you have a single word with no sentence, it makes it a little bit harder. But if you're reading an article on something and you have kind of the story of what's going on, it's very helpful to have these clues to the meaning. So anyhow, just a little summary here. It's not really possible for me as the teacher to teach you all the words that you need to know. It's not possible for you to learn all the words that you need to know. You can study the dictionary all day long and you're never going to know all the words. But you do need to be responsible for your own learning. So we as adults and even, teaching our children to learn how to learn and help themselves is really important. So hopefully this technique will give you some ideas on how you can kind of help yourself be a learner of vocabulary. So it gives you a new tool that you can use to help learn on your own without needing a teacher, without really needing a dictionary to kind of figure things out. And you can keep learning for the rest of your lives with this tool. And of course, there are other tools for learning as well. This is just one. And I think this one is perhaps the most useful tool for learning vocabulary. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody.